59 detainees still held. Why do you prioritize, do you think, military escalation is happening over negotiations?
Greetings to you and your audience. Unfortunately, the Israeli occupation and its measures through which they think they can achieve its goal. Therefore, he cannot achieve this goal, and going in the same time is the process of killing, systematic killing into the Palestinian people. And even through the past negotiations, and the occupying forces have never achieved a thing. Therefore, they should realize practically, if they continue the same systematic, that all the detainees will be killed while they are held in captives. So the Israeli occupation should think realistically. This perception isn't in place and in the Israeli government. And if the Israelis continue, so the all detainees will be killed. And talking about the detainees, their number is fewer than what was before. And we think it's that continuation of such pro-Israeli brutality will lead to the killing of all detainees.
Sir, Netanyahu's Gaza offensive violated the ceasefire's phases, the four phases. And do you think in that way Israel is exploiting the U.S. backing to sabotage peace permanently, or is there hope for peace?
It seems clearly that Netanyahu do not wish to end the war for good. There is a desire for Netanyahu to prolong the war, and if we do not think that will be having a horizon to end the war. So therefore, the matter goes in a clear matter that Netanyahu is going moving forward, supported by his allies, and if he continues the same course, so we is calling and working towards the killing of the Israeli detainees, and the number estimatedly is fewer at larger scale than was before. And they are not killed, or rather, they are killed actually by the hands of Israel. If Netanyahu continues the same methodology, they will reach, or rather, it means that the numbers are shortening as long as the occupying forces continue to do so.
Going back to Mr. Osman, the Arab League's $53 billion Gaza reconstruction plan was rejected by the Israelis and the U.S. What do you think does this reveal about the U.S., their questionable commitment to diplomatic solutions?
Indeed, it does question the U.S.'s rationality or rationale behind the way it conducts its foreign policy in the Middle East and formulates its foreign policy in the Middle East. It seems that the United States has its own vision for the settlement in Gaza that is in complete contrast to the Arab Reconstruction Plan. The Arab Reconstruction Plan, which was, of course, devised by Egypt, and it gained the traction and the endorsement of the Arab world. The Arab League officially, of course, and then the entirety of the international community, the Europeans, the African Union, the Global South, Russia, China, everyone supports the Egyptian plan, with the exception of the United States and Israel. So the problem is with the Arab plan provides a reasonable framework for a settlement, no displacement, reconstruction, the stepping down of Hamas, the installment of a temporary transitional government in the form of the communal support committee that will oversee governance in Gaza for 6 months before the return of the Palestinian Authority. And so these were basically the main foundations or the main features of this plan. On the other hand, what President Trump is proposing is the forced displacement of 1.8 million Palestinians out of the land and the acquisition of their land and turning Gaza into a Riviera. If anything sounds more silly in the world, please inform me, Salma, because I have never heard anything that is more silly than what is being provided by the US administration. But the problem
Well,
is, this is, excuse me, go ahead.
Mr. Osman, let me also ask you another thing. In terms of the international community, what is the international community doing in terms of just sitting back and watching? What are they supposed to be doing and what is actually done, do you think?
If they want to do anything, I think they need to act way beyond the scope of the United Nations, because always the US will always veto any resolution proposed in the Security Council to punish Israel or hold it accountable on account of its action. I think that influential global powers like the European Union, like Russia, like China, like India, these countries that have significant interests with Israel and have significant trade relations with Israel and economic relations, for example, they should not only suffice with condemning Israel's conduct and expressing their solidarity with Palestine. They should impose sanctions. They should impose punitive actions against Israel.
Some sort of
Maybe
action.
then, yes, sanctions. They should impose sanctions on Israel. If these countries impose sanctions on Israel and try to economically isolate it, maybe and only maybe then this will counterbalance the unlimited support that is provided by the United States and might push Israel to rethink its policies. However, none of these countries are willing to do that. None of these countries are willing to pick up a fight with the United States over Israel. Even countries like Russia and China, who are involved in huge disagreements with the United States and conflicts by proxy and tensions, they are willing to engage in that only in the where they have geopolitical interests, which is not the case in Palestine, unfortunately.
Going back to Professor Alraqb, the International Court of Justice is examining Israel's occupation of Palestine. Do you think any legal pressure can curb their aggression?
Fortunately, the ICG, its rules ultimately are advisory and not binding. So whoever's seen the submissions yesterday and today, they realize what's happening in the West Bank and Palestine, and also it takes place in Lebanon. So the percentage of the occupation crimes are increasing. That made Norway to get judiciary rule by the Supreme Court. Maybe tomorrow will be half of the American submission in defending the Israeli occupation in a very land seam that indicates the U.S. implicity in supporting Israel. So the matters will be more clearer for the U.S. In supporting and endorsement of the Israeli occupation. But the occupation should, and its crimes should be exposed through 38 countries are supporting the rise of the Palestinian state, and this injustice isn't going to last forever.